Dan West is a writer and entrepreneur. He runs the newsletter Dan's Daily Dose. He's also built a cult following on X and now scales service-based businesses with acquisition infrastructures. This conversation is for anyone looking to dive headfirst into the creator space, build a six-figure online brand, and learn how to follow curiosity to find their unfair advantage in the marketplace. Enjoy this one, guys. I've written myself into my dream job. Was it easy? Absolutely not. 2023 was filled with dark days. Do you know something? All the pain and sacrifice has made everything so much sweeter. If you're willing to bleed for it, you're crazy enough to make it work. So my question is, how have you authored your life up until this point, and what has it taken to get there?
So a couple years ago, in fact longer than that, about 3 or 4 years ago, I came back from a long stint living away from home. I was basically traveling, but I felt like I was living away from home. Made a lot of things happen in my life for myself, and I was like starting to tap into my entrepreneurial spirit, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do things. But then when the pandemic hit, everything kind of fell apart. Business venture that I had fell apart, and I returned home. When I got home, I just started, it basically hit rock bottom. That's how I describe it. Emotionally rock bottom. I felt like I had nothing. I actually had more than I thought, but I felt like I had nothing. And that's when I started writing a lot more, started just writing things down. Like, okay, well, if I've got nothing, what can I build? What can I produce? It was almost like I needed that feeling of having nothing to create from. That was when it really started, like, okay, what do I actually want to create in my life? What do I want to build? What do I want to have? So I started writing down like goals. Started writing down aspirations, started writing down goals. I was like, okay, some of these are pretty lofty, but let's see where it goes. And then I wrote down some sort of like 1 year goals, some 2 year goals, some 5 year goals, 10 years. Like I think it was like something like that. And a lot of them over time have actually started happening. They've started coming true. Now, I don't know if it's anything to do with the fact that they got written down, or, you know, the thoughts were already in my head, but there's something about writing things. That's why I love writing. It's like you can start creating your own reality. And you can write things, and what you're doing is you're making your ideas more concrete. And the way I see it is you're bringing your ideas, and if you have visions of your future, or you have things you want to build, or relationships you want to build, writing it down starts making it more real. And then it's just down to you to take action towards finally bringing it into reality. So if we're talking about authoring my own life, I do believe that you can quite literally write your own fate, because all the proof, I've just got a strong body of proof that points towards it, but there's still a lot of things that still haven't happened. But
yeah, well, mate, of course, but the journey that has happened so far is incredible. Mate, I'd love to know some of the things that you've written down. They came from wherever they came from. They began as a thought, and then they came out and they were written down. What's that process like? What's the difference between a thought and writing it down? What's that change of energy? What's that change of intention? And what examples, perhaps, in your life you're happy to share that you've written down, and then however long later you're like, oh, this has turned into my reality around me?
So the first part of the question is, you know, how do I feel that, what's the difference between a thought and writing it down? I would say it's like a thought is something that you listen to, can choose to listen to or ignore. And when I started doing more mindfulness practices and actually stopped being such a degenerate and started being a little bit more inward focused as well, started listening to my thoughts, and I decided which ones were actually useful and which ones weren't. Discerning between useful thoughts and ones that were just popping up, because a lot of your thoughts you can't control. I'm trying to get to the point where I'm not necessarily able to control the thoughts that pop up, but the inputs that go into my brain that is kind of like the raw material for thoughts, I can control that. So that's like whatever content you're consuming, books, podcasts, conversations, people, environment. But what's the difference between a thought and writing it down is like, thought you can listen to, but writing it down is something you can see. You actually, like, you've got almost like a physical, seeing is believing. So when you write it, it's now more visual. So you're not only it's almost like you're touching into these senses that without it actually, you know, you're activating the senses. That's the only way I can put it. So if I see it in writing, I'm like, okay, feels a little bit more realistic now. Then you take some action towards it, and that's how I feel like, the difference between a thought and writing it down becomes more real. You can see it. Some specifics that I've written down, I think a bit of a cliche, but having my own business, being in control of my own income. Although a few years ago, the person that you would have met, that would have been highly risky. Like, this guy should not be in charge of his own finances. Like, this is the last guy you want to put in charge. But I managed to, you find the solutions along the way.
Yeah.
You grow into those ambitions, you grow into those goals, and you sort of like become the person that's worthy of achieving those goals, really.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a guidance system for me. And yeah, I have my own business. I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. Like, I have written down that I want to be a millionaire, not so much because I want loads of cash, although that's great. It's just something like, no, I said I was going to do it, and I did. I followed through. Yeah. And I want to live in abundance. The number doesn't matter. Yeah. But having everything I want and being able to write things down and achieve them, like, that is something I'm just trying to prove to myself every day.
That's so cool, man. I really love this idea of the self-authoring, of turning it into reality. I love how you said that you've got all of these thoughts floating around, but the ones that you've chosen to write down are kind of like the ones that you choose. It's like, well, this is going to be my life. And it is. You're writing the story of your life through writing it down, and you're saying, hey, well, I'm going to get rid of these other ones. Yes, they might exist floating around up here, but these are the ones I'm going to focus on. These are the ones I'm going to take action on. From having those clear goals, starting your business, starting your personal brand, all of these things that you've been writing down and bringing into reality through action, through defining this person, through defining Dan Westy, through defining yourself, through writing, what are some things that you've had to sacrifice to get to where you are now? What are some things that when you were looking at what you were writing, you were like, if I'm going to be that, this has to go? What things had to be dropped? What did that look like for you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm a big believer in sacrifice. Not necessarily. Mark Manson said, you're defined by what you're willing to suffer for. And John C. Maxwell has a quote which really stuck with me, which is, you have to give up to go up. And if you're an ambitious person, I don't think ambition's bad. We need ambitious people. We need people that want to build things and do things, not just for self-gain, but for the betterment of the world. We need these people. So it's like, you want to go up, whether that's in your job, whether that's in, the socioeconomic hierarchy, whether that's, you want to get in better shape, you've got to make sacrifices. You want to get in better shape, you've got to give up certain foods, you've got to give up time. So for me, like, looking at my goals, I was like, what do I need to sacrifice? I was like, okay, at heart, I'm a social butterfly, really. I love networking, I love being in parties and stuff, but I was like, that's great for achieving certain goals in certain industries. I know that you're in the music industry. That's like a staple if you're in the music industry. I was in the music industry for a bit. I still have a little foot in it, but not really. But like, when I was looking at, okay, really, I want to write. I want to build businesses. I need to give up some of the partying. I need to give up some of the socializing. I need to give up some of the people that I mix with. So I gave up people. I gave up time. I gave up some of the things which I really enjoy, which is, socializing and just enjoyment. And I found enjoyment in different ways, which is the beauty of it. I don't think you ever just stop enjoying. I think you just find enjoyment for new things. But a lot of the things which I enjoyed growing up, I had to knock on the head. I've gone through phases where I've been obsessed with fitness as well and health, and I've just got in shape because I set a goal and I want to do it. And, you're giving up a lot of your favorite foods. You're giving up a lot of, you're not going out, you're not drinking. Definitely given up. I haven't fully given up alcohol, but I've drunk like twice in the last year. And it's only for special occasions. And that's been one of the best decisions I've made. Yeah. Giving up a lot of other, not that I was particularly out of control, but like other substances which I used to use recreationally because my friends did and thought nothing of it. Now I look back and I go, wow, I can't believe I was diving deep into, playing with substances nonchalantly just because. Yeah. everyone else was doing it.
Yeah.
And it was normalized. Now I look back, I'm like, that's crazy. It's crazy that was normalized behavior.
Man, it's so true. I think the alcohol one's a really interesting one. For myself, I've had to say, nope, off. Just because I know that that's my personality, that if I give myself an inch, I will often take a mile. So I need to just set boundaries for myself. And that works well for me. It also has worked well for me defining my relationship with alcohol for other people as well. When I say, hey, I don't drink, people go, oh, that person doesn't drink. When I meet new people, they go, that person's sober. Whereas in the past, when I'd maybe tried to give it up, I'd say, look, I'm trying to drink less. That kind of creates a challenge for your friends to be like, okay, well, what occasion can I get them to drink? And the boundaries are great. So with that being said, I was a little bit, I don't want to say ill because I don't get ill, but I was a bit stuffed up last week. And I was operating at probably about like 70%. I was not attacking things as hard as I usually attack things. And I was thinking back to when I used to be hungover and when I used to have a relationship with alcohol where maybe once a week, even just a few pints, I realized that the level, if you even have just a little bit of alcohol in your life consistently, the level at which you're operating can never be near your full potential. Like at max, you're operating at like 60%. You know, there's so much you're missing out on. So yeah, I'm curious. I want to ask you about your own personal growth, but I'm curious about how you've noticed kind of a change in your lifestyle, a change in your relationships, a change in your life through having kind of a more distant relationship with alcohol.
So first of all and I feel like this isn't the first time, if people are watching this, people will be watching this won't be the first time people have probably heard this, but you attract who you are. And quite often you find that attraction and repelling as well. So there's a lot of friends who I still care for deeply, but we don't have loads of common on the level of values. That I thought we did. And a lot of it was based around good times, which was facilitated by alcohol, which is fine. But as you start drinking less, because like you rightly said, I don't want to be feeling like garbage every day I wake up. And I need to be operating at my best. You know, we want to optimize our lives. I don't want to be feeling like, you know, we've probably done enough hangovers now to fill a lifetime. So it's like, well, no, don't want to be feeling like that. Don't want to be feeling ill. Don't want to be making myself ill. When you make that decision, like there's not many other people that are willing to make that level of sacrifice. So suddenly you isolate yourself from the majority. Then it becomes a task of, you know, you could say that you start attracting people in slowly who are like you or who have the same set of values as you, especially around alcohol. I would also say like you do go looking for them. Subconsciously, you're like, I can't be this like eccentric, weird, non-alcohol enjoying, non-social, you know, person. I need to almost find people that I share values with. I've actually found people like yourself included, but a lot of people, especially in Bali's a hotspot for it, but there's places all over the world where all these people you connect with, you're like, we are the same. And being able to identify that in a sober state of mind, you're like, that relationship's more meaningful immediately. And I think for me, like the relationships that I've built sober, I can't believe I'm saying that, but like without any alcohol, any illicits involved, are a lot more meaningful and they feel a lot more real and they're certainly more advantageous to my life. They're getting me closer to my goals by knowing these people, by being associated. They're people I admire, people I respect. So I'd say it's only been positive with moments of a little bit of loneliness, but only really at first. You start to find the people you really resonate with and find those communities and you get involved in them, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. I think it's one of those big things where it forces you to open up without the Dutch courage. It forces you to be vulnerable and connect with people in a sober state. And like you said, you build real connections. You can spot the similarities between people. When you can do that in a sober state, you can connect with more people. You know, you don't have the walls up. That's something I've certainly found. Now, I heard you say, every time I discover something new about myself, my income increases. Aim to understand yourself and money will follow. So going through this process of self-development, writing things down, staying away from certain substances, this general personal growth, self-improvement, how has your income or how has money followed once you've made a particular change or you've learned something about yourself? And perhaps if you could give an example of something you learned about yourself and how that translated to more income, more revenue in your business as well.
So Ray Dalio, who's an absolute beast, has a principle in his book Principles, and it's pain plus reflection equals progress.
Pain plus reflection equals progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. I was like, something I've kind of resonated with for a long time before I even read it, but I was like, that makes complete sense. Every time I've gone to a low point, I love low points, man. Oh God, like it sucks, but it really sucks. But so does being like in a really grueling workout, because you know that, and maybe there's an element of, you know, I want the high that follows.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, what's it, Newton's third law? Like, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You go low, what goes down must come up.
Yeah.
There's a quote that you've used a few times, like, as above, so below.
Yeah.
Basically, without getting too conceptual, like, going to the low points and the high points, like, you're experiencing more of life, and you're getting different insights, different levels of insights. And, yeah, I'm going to go back to that quote from Mark Manson, like, you're defined by what you're willing to struggle for. The struggles are the best bit. You learn the most about yourself. You have the most growth. And for me, going through the tough times, really tough times, losing friends, being literally betrayed in business, oh my God, it's like you learn so much. Also the good times, you're like, wow, I just went and blitzed, you know, a project and made more money in 3 weeks than most people do in a year. By the way, I did that with a team. I'm not saying that was all me, but that you learn something about yourself. It's like, wow, okay. And then you can apply that to the next project, the next venture, the next relationship you have. So you're building confidence by learning new things about yourself always. And I do believe strongly, you know, I know that you feel the same way. You know, the better you know yourself, what you're naturally good at, that's how you find your unfair advantages. And when you find your unfair advantages, you're playing a game that not many people can compete with you on. You're moving yourself away from the crowd, and all of a sudden you're playing a game which you can win. You're not playing games where it's rigged against you because they're not your natural skills. You're playing games that you can win. And if you don't know about yourself, what you're naturally good at, you're never going to find these opportunities where you can run riot and really crush life. And I guess to wrap it up and talk about the income point, every time I realize, like, okay, I'm not good at that, I plug that hole with a person or a resource that can help me. If I'm like, okay, I'm really good at that, I'm like, we double down on that. And every time you double down or eliminate, you're getting closer to your, I guess, like your
Genius.
Your genius, yeah. And no one can compete with you on that, or very few people can. And the people that can, you just team up with and create new mad things. So it's not even about the income.
Yeah.
It's about you leveling up and becoming more valuable. And I mean, money follows value, right?
Yes.
So that's the name of the game for me. And I think for a lot of people that understand it, a lot of people ahead of me figured this stuff out a long time ago.
That's what I like about you, man, is that you're focused on being more you, and that the value's following. You're putting so much of yourself into what you're doing, and creating value through that, through your own genius. You know, and I'm a big believer that there's a spark inside all of us, and that there is a reason that we have our gifts, we have our genius, and that's when everyone flourishes, when we're all focused on that genius, and we're giving that, you know, we're giving freely, we're giving our gifts. For you, how did you go around working towards your genius and finding it? And also, how can other people, how can they spot where they're like, because so many people, I used to play guitar, I still play guitar. When I was growing up, people were like, other kids, oh, it's so nice you found your thing. And I was like, yeah, I found my thing, but also I was shit when I started. Like I just picked it up and I just kind of like didn't stop. And then through the process of just doing something over and over again, I got good at it. And then opportunities came, and it was more just a creative outlet. The guitar was just a tool. It was for creativity. But first I had to be disciplined to learn the skill, to learn the fucking scales, to learn the chords, all of this stuff. And then I could be creative through it. And then I could express my creative genius that I do believe comes out in different ways through the guitar. And that could affect people. But I often find people say to me, like, oh, I just don't know what my thing is. I don't know what it is. How have you gone about working towards and finding your genius, finding your thing, and knowing that, hey, I'm on track right now? And also, what advice would you give to other people where they can go, when they're doing things, they're like, this is the thing? Or do they just need to work on something and become really good at that, and then it will express itself through that work?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, there's no way I'm at the level of anything near to genius yet. I will make that my life's mission to become a genius in anything.
It's in there, bro. I see it.
Yeah.
We all know that Instagram is the new business card. It is your portal to the world, and it is the world's portal to you. The way things are going, if you're not online, you're going to be left behind over the next few years. So whether it's for networking, your business, or even relationships, your Instagram says everything about how seriously you're taking yourself and your work. It's where you invite people into your world. If you're a modern creator and you're looking to grow and scale your personal brand, you want to get paid more to be yourself and offer your unique value. You want to connect with other like-minded creators and build something that you are deeply proud of. You've become fatigued of everyone offering magic solutions online, and you actually just want to focus on delivering your unique value and what actually works. You want to connect with real creators, real artists, and real entrepreneurs. That is exactly why I launched Modern Creator. We work on your unique positioning to make you one of one and a key person of influence in your specific niche. We optimize your socials to gain attention and then convert that attention into paying clients. And we focus on creating a value-driven brand that doesn't rely on pushy sales techniques. So it's for long-term creators playing long-term games. You are looking to grow with other creators and create a deep impact while scaling your income. Click the link in the description to find out more about how to join Modern Creator, or feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and I can give you more details about how to join.
It's funny you say about the guitar. I play guitar myself. It's something that I find now I look back and I'm like, I was teaching people guitar and they're like, you're really good. I'm like, I'm terrible. Yeah. But, to somebody else, if you can do something because you've spent hours on it, suddenly you are, a lot further along. So how can somebody find their genius? I would say, and you said this to me the other day, listen, not just listen to, there's people around you that will give you clues. My mum was like, you're already, you're quite creative and you like singing, like maybe we should give you a guitar. And I had like, not really any choice in it, but I was like, oh, okay. So next thing you know, I'm playing guitar. Writing. I had and this is why I love mentorship. It probably stems from this a little bit. I had a teacher, English teacher, who really believed in me. And he was like, you have a really good way of writing. I was a kid, but he really believed in me and he saw something in me. He saw the spark in me and he nurtured it. Next thing you know, I like writing. He also encouraged me to do history at A-level. So like next thing you know, I've got like this proclivity towards like human behavior, human nature. So like it's all kind of stemmed from a bit of input from other people. So that's why I think listening is huge. Then you've got to listen to yourself. You've got to listen to yourself, be like, okay, do I actually enjoy this? Or is this just a shiny object syndrome kicking in? I'm just doing this because it's a fad and because everyone's doing it and because, like Alex Hormozy says, the girl in the red dress, like everyone's doing videos or like everyone's doing this. It's like, you need to spend time on that one thing and know it's the thing that you enjoy. Get really damn good at it before you fill the cup up completely before you start going into the other areas. Something I've always struggled with. So I guess like bottom line is finding something that, listening to other people, listening for cues. Okay, what are people telling me I'm good at? What are people always saying I'm, leaning into that a bit further, spending a lot of time on it. And if you put like 10,000 hours in, Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours or whatever it is, you will be better than 95% of the population. But you need to know what you're already good at. You need to know yourself. You need to listen for clues and also have some humility to actually like take on feedback and be like, okay, I don't know everything. Who knows more than me, or who's like what people are saying around me? What do you think?
Oh, great. I love what you said. I think it always comes back to service. I think noticing when you do things that perhaps you don't even realize that you're maybe even good at, but it lights other people up. And being self-aware enough, like you said, when someone gives you a compliment or someone encourages you, you had that English teacher. And it's funny, I also had an English teacher called Dr. Kelly. And I wrote, big up Dr. Kelly. He was a G. And I didn't really like English because I was just a kid. He sat me down at break and he said, wait there, this is brilliant. I love this, this, and this. Now, I'm giving everything in his lessons. I believe that I'm good at writing. I might not be, but that belief of someone that respects you, that you respect, that's going to really propel you to put more time. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe in yourself and you believe in your ability, you spend more time doing it, and then you get better at it, and you have the confidence to take more risks, more kind of a bigger action, more massive action towards that thing. Because you're filled with that confidence. It's amazing. I mean, I spent time in education as a teacher. Like the best thing you can do for those kids is just encourage them. So that's it. Like that's pretty much it. They're smart little things. They know what they're up to. Just encourage them. If you can encourage them, they will go off and they will find their thing. So I think it's noticing that, but also noticing the thing that you do, someone will come back to you and they'll be like, whoa, like, how did you do that? Oh, that was amazing. Thank you. Da, da, da. And realize that other people are receiving, because that's value. When you are giving and people are receiving value, then you know something you can monetize. And yeah, notice feedback. The thing that you're doing that feels perhaps feels quite natural, and others are getting a lot of value from it. That's a really good kind of barometer. And I think it always comes from service. It always comes from giving. It always comes from putting something out into the world. Big believer that if you're looking for purpose, just find a way to give and you'll start finding purpose. I think what you said about you were a guitarist as well. Maybe we should have a jam together sometime. I'm not sure how good I still am, but
absolutely, man.
We'll do that. It's funny how you said that you were teaching people and they were looking at you like, tell me everything, guitar god. And you were like looking at, I don't know, John Mayer or Van Halen or someone, and you were like, well,
not even that. yeah.
I'm not anywhere near that. Like, why are they paying me to teach them? That's a great insight for people in the coaching space who are afraid to get into it, who think, one, I don't have 100,000 followers. I haven't built a multi-billion-dollar business. Why on earth should I have the authority to coach someone? So I'm curious, because I know you coach people as well, and that's going very, very well. How would you approach that limiting belief for perhaps your clients or prospects or people in your ecosystem who think, hey, I'm not worthy, I'm not talented, I'm not this X, Y, and Z, I'm not good enough to help someone else? How do they kind of get the confidence to begin coaching?
So I think it comes from a few places. Firstly, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a big stack of wins in certain areas, problems they've had to overcome. Everybody has value to give. Now, I think the number one thing people should do, because it really builds your audience fast. So if you want to build that audience and get some authority, it's a good way to get yourself out there, is literally start telling your story. You'll start realizing like, shit, like I've actually done a lot of cool shit. I've overcome a lot of challenges. And that is like, you're looking back at the wins. David Goggins, I didn't read the book, but I know his concept of the cookie jar. You reach in cookie jars, these cookies are like wins that you've had, and you can reach in there, and that's how you build confidence, is looking back at the wins. So say like, there's something that you've won a lot at, and like, you need to take mental note of that and give you that confidence. Like you've achieved a lot more than you give yourself credit for. So telling your story like unlocks that in yourself. Again, I'm quoting like a madman at the moment, but
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Steve Jobs, when he gave that speech at the end, it was like I want to say it was like either Stanford or Harvard. He gave a speech and he said, it's impossible to connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. So it's like every time you look back at your life, which a lot of people are scared to do. We have traumas, we have problems. You realize things like, I've actually smashed it in a few areas. So that's one way to get confidence. The other way, and people might not, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but buy coaching. Like if you are willing to pay 2, 3, 4, 5 grand for coaching, you are now mentally prepared to actually ask somebody for that amount of money as well. So it's like, okay, look at the wins that you've got stacked. That's like, look back. All right, now look forward. Who can I learn from that I know is going to level me up, and also can give me the confidence now to start asking for money? And it's like, everyone has a degree of expert blindness. There's something you're an expert in, but you don't actually know how much of an expert you are in. Going back to the guitar thing, sure, I was not an elite guitarist, but I was becoming somewhat of an expert, an authority to someone, and I could help someone 2 steps behind. And that's how it worked.
I love that, man. And it's I think that's that big one of breaking that limiting belief of investing in either coaching or program or whatever it is, because you're like, oh, well, I did it and I'm a reasonable person, so why wouldn't other reasonable people go ahead and do that as well? You break the own limiting belief. I know people might kind of go like, oh, it's kind of like a pyramid scheme. It's like, no. It's this beautiful thing. I love this space because it's like you said, you're sometimes 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead of someone. Now, the beautiful thing about coaching is that the online environment, everything is changing all the time. It's rapidly changing all of the time. The guy who was selling a coaching offer, maybe a business coaching or personal brand coaching offer 5 years ago, he doesn't know shit. That program is going to be, there might be some fundamentals, but really, that's going to be really hard to implement now. One of the beautiful things about coaching is that you kind of need to monetize it as you grow. And the way I see it is you want to be helping people like 2, 3 to 4 chapters behind you. And you want to learn from people 2 to 3 to 4 chapters ahead of you because they've just gone through it. You don't want the guy or the girl who went through it 5 years ago and is now, they're going to have some great lessons for other people. You want to see who's recently trodden this path. What wisdom did they gain from going down that path recently? Those are the people you want to get close to. They're the ones living it. They're in it now. So I really, really love that example. And I'm curious, because of your writing ability, you've grown your personal brand and your audience and your influence on X, Twitter. You are Xing or whatever that's called now, tweeting.
God knows.
God knows, yeah.
Posting.
Elon didn't think that far. But I've learned a lot from you, hearing how you approach that. I'm really curious how people can start a creator business on X, how you approach it, how you connect with your audience. I'm really curious to just shut up and listen and hear about your wisdom from X, because I know you're absolutely smashing it and you're really building. I go on X and I follow you and like a few other people. And I go through all your stuff and I'm like, what's he up to? Because it's not something I've really engaged with yet. We were talking about this the other day. Like I haven't quite got to grips with it. But I look at what you're doing. I'm like, people are loving this. You've got a really engaged community. It's really positive. How have you built that? How's that gone about on X?
It's really weird having this conversation because last time we were in Bali, I was just starting it.
Yes.
It didn't take, it feels like it took a long time. It didn't. First of all, I started writing blogs and I posted them on Instagram and to my friends. My community was my friends. Yeah. And I disrupted a few of my relationships because I started sharing some views and opinions are a dangerous thing. Like we can have conversations about anything because A, we're rational. Yeah. B, we understand how this game kind of works. Like we want to learn. A lot of people don't want to learn. They just want to hear what they already know. So, or what they already agree with. So I realized, I turned up I was doing a gardening job in Australia. I turned up to work one day and the guy basically hated me. Like what a guy I worked with basically had turned on me because of something I'd written. I was like, wow. Well, 2 things. Number 1 is people are actually reading this stuff. So that was a signal to keep going deeper.
I love that you took the positive from that straight away.
I was like, you are so emotionally aroused right now. Yeah. Shame about the relationship, but this has made an impact. Yeah. Secondly, it was like, well, I don't think this is my audience. This isn't my audience. They're not on Instagram. They're not at least in my community on Instagram. And I was looking and I was like, well, what platform have I already had success on? And what platform, where are all the writers hanging out? Because I wanted to write. It's now become a creative business, goes way beyond that. But right now, writing's my thing. I love it. It's my flow state. So I was like, okay, where are the writers hanging out? Twitter at the time. So I decided to start a Twitter account, and all I was doing, I was consuming so many audiobooks. I was literally just, my head was filled with ideas. I was like, I need to get this all out. So I just write these little tidbits, these little bits from books I've been listening to, ideas that were in my head, which I thought were mine. Actually, I was just capturing them from people smarter than me and putting them out on X. I would say I posted for about 4 months with not a lot of joy. The game changer was when I started giving Robert Cialdini first law of influence, reciprocity. As soon as I started basically commenting and supporting other people's content, quickly started getting it back. I started building this community. I wasn't even in it for the money at this point. I just wanted to build something. I just wanted to share my ideas. And after a while, I started building a bit of a community of people that wouldn't necessarily buy from me, but liked me. So I'm getting people to support my content. There was social proof. I started getting it sounds really low level thinking in the weeds, but it's I started getting likes and retweets and people commenting. And I was like, whether or not people are just doing this because we're all in one little orgy basically of supporting each other, it doesn't matter because I'm getting positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
So basically I was engaging a lot with other people. I was supporting them. Community started building. I realized this is a really, really positive community here. Yeah. Everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants each other to win. And after a few months, I decided to invest in a community. I got into a writing community, which at the time I just thought it was a personal brand growth thing. It's actually more here's how you write on X.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything started getting more support. I was with the right people, I was with the right network. And before I knew it, I basically hit a bit of an, how do I put it? I hit a bit of an upward trajectory, that you're in the valley of disappointment. And then if you keep going, eventually, boom, I just kind of hit this, it wasn't a rocket, but compared to what I'd been experiencing, it was a big growth stint. I've done everything organically.
Yeah.
I know people that have not done things organically and got a lot of authority based off I'm not calling anyone out here, it's fine. I decided I want to do everything organically. I know people that hit their rocket phase and were like, I might buy some followers here just to give me a little bit more authority. That's fine. But for me, I was I want to do everything organically. So people eventually started being like, this Dan West guy's actually growing and it looks legit.
Yeah.
So people were like, okay, I guess I started getting some authority. And I wasn't afraid to share my story and some of my wins, some of my losses. I've when I look back, I've achieved what a lot of people growing a brand right now, they're worried if they haven't achieved anything because they do see people that have achieved a lot talking about it and going, oh, my story's boring compared to that. That doesn't matter. But I was confident telling my story because I know I've got some crazy stories. So telling my story, notably getting that social proof, that growth, being part of the right community, showing support and love for people around me, that is really the crux of building a brand on X. It's a very sociable, community-driven platform. And if you leverage it with relationships, you'll grow.
Yeah. So love that.
Quick one from me, guys. If you are a modern creator looking to grow and scale your personal brand, you like the way I think and solve problems, you're looking to dial in your brand, positioning, and leverage authentic, no BS marketing that is aligned with your brand's vision and mission, and you're interested in working together more closely, please feel free to reach out on IG and we can discuss just that. Back to the episode.
I think what you absolutely embody and absolutely nail is this idea of, obviously in business you have B2C, you have B2B. Now, I often say it's P2P, it's H to H, it's human to human, it's person to person. And I think when we talk about things like followers, when we talk about things like that, accounts following, it's no, a person is following you. Another person is following you. So talk to them like a person would like to be spoken to. Treat them with the respect that a person would like. Now, something you said was empathy is a superpower. Sales equals empathy, marketing equals empathy, customer service equals empathy. Obsess with understanding people and it's impossible not to win in life. So how did you come to that realization that empathy is the thing that's going to grow my brand? Empathy is the thing that's going to enable me to kind of sell products in a way that I'm proud of as well. I'm curious what your relationship and your realization there was with empathy.
It's kind of crazy because growing up I thought empathy was weakness. and I heard woo people going, I'm an empath. And I thought,
dealing with being an empath. Yeah. You just cry a lot. Like,
yeah. I was like, oh God, it's not, it's not desirable trait. But I always knew I tried to hide it a lot. And there's people that were quite Machiavellian, which, by the way, I just read The Prince, and it's a great book. But I was always more of a, people were getting ahead by getting them with a lack of empathy. So I thought, this is not a desirable trait.
Yeah.
You wanted to add something there?
No.
So I'd always covered it up. So realizing actually the power of empathy recently, because I invested in sales coaching.
Yep.
I've always been a salesman, but I've never known how to sell. I've always sold unconsciously. I didn't know I was selling. I actually dived into the art of selling lately, reading books, 2 great books on selling. The Secret to Closing the Sale, I believe it is, by Zig Ziglar, who's like an absolute, I love him. And then also Spin Selling by Alan Rackman. And I realized, I was like, selling isn't about closing. Selling isn't about handling objections. Selling is about understanding the individual across from you, understanding their problems. And people don't buy, and I don't know who said this, but I'm just going to rip it.
I love the honesty.
Yeah. People don't buy because they understand. They buy because they feel understood.
People don't buy because they understand. People buy because they feel understood.
And how do you understand people? Empathy is so important. And if you don't understand your target audiences or your clients' needs, you're going to do a shoddy job at fulfilling on it. So if you want to become outstanding in your field, any business that you run, whether it's coaching, whether it's, I don't know, you're selling phones, if you understand your target audience, they will gladly pay you because they want to feel understood. He listened, she listened. They take my feedback on board. Or, you ever read something like an ad and you go, I feel like that was written for me. Well, yeah, it was. And marketing, you need to understand how your audience thinks. Sales, you need to understand how your audience thinks. And customer service, you need to understand how your customer thinks and feels. And I've just noticed, I'm sure I'm looking at it way too narrowly. There's probably a lot broader scales to look at it. I'm like, the more you understand the person you're trying to serve, everybody wins. Everybody wins. So that's why empathy is a superpower.
I love that, man. And so, Hormozy would say, once you can describe someone's problem to them better than they can describe it themselves, that's when they buy. And when I used to do sales calls, I'm moving away from them now, apart from for really kind of big deals. That was the moment that I knew I'd closed. It's when you listen, you listen, you understand their problems. And if you're able to showcase an understanding of their problems that is deeper than their understanding themselves, you see this, yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. And then your solution is obviously the solution. Obviously, they're going to trust you. You have the authority because you understand them deeply. They now view you as the authority, which you are. I mean, Donald Miller has some great stuff on that. Any first impression you want to build, it's like trust and authority. How do you build trust? You showcase empathy. Trust is actually built through showcasing empathy, and then authority by showcasing results, all that stuff. If you can nail those 2 things in your brand, you're done. Like, that's it. And that's same with first impressions. And that's why I really focus on the whole human to human, person to person thing. Because work on your first impression when you meet someone, and then you're going to get better at sales, at your branding. It's like it all goes hand in hand completely. Recently, you've taken yourself away and you've been in Sri Lanka for 6 months. I didn't realize it was that long, but it was since I last saw you. You've been in a monk mode in Sri Lanka. I know that's been an interesting experience for you. You said it enabled you to achieve a lot on your personal brand and your business, but the trade-off was my sanity, my relationships, and sometimes my health. So what was your experience like doing monk mode? How did that look for you?
Dude, it was the intention with Sri Lanka was to go monk mode. And look, I don't know if I'm going to do another monk mode again.
There's a lot.
I just, I barely spoke to anyone.
Yeah.
I know that my relationships, they short-term suffered. The real ones stick around. If anything, I was just shaking out this is crypto terminology. I was shaking out the paper hands.
Yeah.
Who really do I have such a strong connection with that I talk to them even in my monk mode? That was quite an important thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, which relationships are like not going anywhere, even if like I went ghost forever, people would still drop in my DMs, you know? So that was quite interesting to see who those people were. Not that that was the point of it. So that was where the relationship suffered. I just was not in contact. I was MIA. I also felt like it was a distraction from what I was trying to achieve. Like I was like, look, I just want to front load all this effort, build my brand to a point where it becomes maintenance rather than like slogging for another year. I just want to get it done. That's how I work. Like front load it, get the plane off the ground and then reintegrate into society. So I became quite feral because I was like rejecting human like interaction.
Yeah.
And I was just focused on this one objective, which is like grow the brand and get yourself in a strong position that you have leverage.
Yeah.
My health, quite often that's why I think flow state can be dangerous. Like I'd quite often be working and I'd just be like, oh, I was meant to go to the gym now. I've got a meeting in a bit. Oh, screw it. I just won't go to the gym. Yeah. Or like, oh, I was meant to go on a walk. I was meant to go on a run. I just ignore it because I'm just like, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
Health started deteriorating slightly. Being stimulated at night, working till the very end of the day and not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
So health was deteriorating. And what else did I say suffered? Sanity.
My sanity, my health, and my relationships.
So the health and the relationship suffering led to a deterioration in sanity, which is why I went quite feral.
Describe feral.
I look like Tom Hanks from Castaway.
Brilliant.
And I was staying in a guest house by myself. I had a few friends there that left, so I didn't really have any like friends in the area, which is fine. I didn't need them at the time, although they were great. And then when I finally moved into a more social environment, I was so paranoid of the people there that I end up staying because I was like, I need to regain my trust in people. Plus, I'd been like doing a lot of like research on human nature, and I was like, I know that not everyone's perfect, but when I got into a nice community, loving, real life environment, I slowly started reintegrating, and I was like, I need people in my life. I've done 40 days in the desert. You know, Jesus in the desert, like I love that story. I felt like I'd done a bit of that. I was like, now it's time to reintegrate into it's time to actually allow myself to enjoy people again.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
And I know you've taken a bit of a creative recharge because post monk mode, you sort of took a bit of time off. Not off, you did a creative recharge. What is that? How has that helped you? Where did you go deep, or was it light? What was that experience like, and how do you feel it's kind of left you now after the monk mode, this creative recharge? How did that look, and where's that left you now?
So, I mean, off the back of the whole monk mode thing is perfect segue, perfect segmenting by you. So thank you. I appreciate that. So makes my life easy. So as you can tell, probably like monk mode is one extreme and like taking time off is an extreme, right? There's a hustle culture, and you know, I love him, but he puts across this like idea that you should never, ever, ever stop. You should never stop playing the game mentally. Once you're an entrepreneur, you're playing the game of survival.
Yeah.
You should never stop trying to achieve your goals, but realizing that just burning yourself to a crisp all the time, you can never truly look at things from a higher level. And it's Hormozy I'm talking about. I love the guy, I consume his content, but he gives this impression, especially to like newbie entrepreneurs, like no time off, just keep going, like just. And I'm like, consistency is vital, but taking a bit of time off gives you an opportunity to view things from a high level. What do I really want? Am I doing things correctly? Are my systems optimal? Am I really doing what I want? What areas am I excelling in? What areas am I just dog shit at? You know, being able to like take a bit of time out enabled me some mental headspace to not just create. I wasn't creating content. It was a mid-level withdrawal from what I was doing. It was a mid-level break. I wasn't fully out. I was like DMing and like handling a lot of client stuff, not intensely, but just maintenance. But creatively, all my creative energy was now in here, rather than I've got to put out this much content this week. So I took 6-7 days off doing content. That started helping me think about like, well, what am I trying to create in my life? Like, what's the vision for my life? What do I want to do next year? That was vital for me, actually being able to look at what I want this year. And also, like coming back with fresh ideas, not just churning out the same, I guess, the similar content. Although, who was it? Russell Brunson says, your audience, you'll get sick of your backstory before your audience does. You'll get sick of your content before your audience does.
Yeah.
So you should be consistent on that front. But I was like, what new flavors do I want to bring to it so that I don't lose my passion for it?
Yeah.
So I came back with new passion, new ideas, and new confidence, basically, to smash the year, rather than being like at the end of the year going, I just burnt myself out. It was like coming back with a new lease of life. It benefited me hugely, and I'd recommend it to people that allow yourself a break. It's not time off. You're not moving away from your goal. You're moving closer towards it. And it also depends what kind of life you want.
Yeah.
I don't want to be trapped in my own prison. I want to be in control, and I want to do things my way. So not listening to the meta.
Purpose, profit, and peace. This is something that I'm really pushing into everything that I want to do moving forward. It's making sure all of those are in balance. And you're absolutely right. You get on the train of the content train of this, of the outreach, whatever it is, hit your goals. Yes, that's important that you hit your metrics. That's kind of profit. Okay. You can sort of put that in that category. For me, the really interesting things are profit, purpose, and peace. And something that I'm going to be focusing on this year, and something that's been seeping in, is that idea of, is this all aligned? And I found that by focusing on purpose, by focusing on feeling peace, profit will follow, because you're taking more considered, you're taking that time off. You're allowing a bit more data in, like you said, rather than just constantly out. You're allowing more data in, and you can make a more considered decision. And that one considered step forward is sometimes way more impactful than 3 steps this way, 3 steps this way, this and that over there. Even though you might have done more, actually, when you consider, well, how do I want to feel? The peace, on purpose, and the profit. Okay, well, that's the step. It might not get you, there's one thing you could do that could like skyrocket your profit. There's one thing you could do that could skyrocket any of those. You could go to a retreat for a month and feel peace, but now you come back and you're going to lose all the peace because you're now not making any profit. So it's like, right, how does each step kind of come into play there? And for me, it's been really through developing a relationship with God, I'll be honest, over the last 6 months or so. I'm curious if you're religious at all, if you have a relationship with God, what you think about spirituality, all of that. Is it important? Is it woo-woo? I'd be really interested to hear your opinion and how that's affected your daily life and who you are.
Happy to dive into it. I just want to add one last thing
Please.
to it. You know, we're talking about just on taking breaks. I don't want to give people the wrong idea. If somebody is just starting out, you need to clutch it. I just want that disclaimer, like you need to clutch it.
Yeah.
But
don't start with the break. Yeah.
Don't start with the brakes, clutch it hard. And then the reason why I was also able to is because I had automated processes. So I just wanted to say that, like, I don't want to give people the wrong impression. If you're starting out, clutch it hard.
Yeah.
Automate things so that you can take these little breaks. Earn it.
Good. Yeah.
About God, religion. I was raised a Catholic. I was raised on the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, my beliefs aren't, I'm not dogmatic in my beliefs, and I definitely didn't have the strongest relationship with God growing up because it was forced on me. And I've got the personality type, and I'm sure you do as well. If you tell me to do something, I'm not thinking for myself. It feels like oppression.
Yeah.
I won't do it. I'll reject it. But actually, the lessons that slipped through the cracks were very positive for me.
Yeah.
The code of ethics, a way to live. And generally, my observation has been, and I tried to look up the stat for this, interestingly, recently. I couldn't get like a concrete figure. But generally, people that have faith are more successful. They live happier lives, healthier lives. And I do believe that having some kind of faith is vital. I think believing in a higher power for me has been vital in as a creator, there is a creator that created us. Everything has a design. Nature has a design. And there's a great quote. I don't know who said this one, but if God existed, he'd be a physicist. And it's like, all right, so what you've done is you've basically taken science, which is like the agnostic atheists over here, taken like the super religious fanatics over here, and you basically said, well, here's a bridge. I mean, religion is simply seeking to understand what, like, science is trying to understand what religion can't explain, right? So I see it all as a whole. I'm like, you don't have to be dogmatic in which way you go. You can just simply go, well, I'm scientific, I'm data driven, but something feels like there's a power here that is bigger than me, and it's something to aspire to. Jordan Peterson talks about, like value, like values are like the highest. You're striving to reach the highest level. You're striving to go up to God, and that's why values are like at the top of the pyramid. That's what you're striving towards, because when you're aiming up and you're going for your, what does he say? He basically argues that you should be striving to be your best and do the best. You're trying to reach God. You're trying to go up. And like, if you look at towers that have been built, like the Washington Monument, it's got a little pyramid at the top. Like, it's literally like we're trying to get up to God, blasting rockets off to Mars. We're trying to get closer. We're trying to go up to God. So it's like, okay, there's something innate in us that wants to get closer to God, whether that's physically, spiritually. And I personally, and I know what you've just said as well, you can reach him spiritually or her, it. So I wouldn't say I'm religious. I am going to read the Bible soon just for the hell of it. I'll probably read the Quran at some point. I have no real allegiance to one religion, but having faith and being connected to a higher power, I think, like, only yields good things. And as a creator or entrepreneur or whatever you categorize yourself as, you don't create things. Like, you allow some energy from somewhere else. You're just a medium. You're just a channel for it. You're just a filter. So whatever whatever ideas you're having, like, it's coming in, the energy's coming in from somewhere, and you're just a filter, and your expression of it is the unique expression, because that is one of your purposes in life, is to express the universe. What's the quote? The universe, we are the universe trying to experience itself. We're God trying to experience itself, and we're just a filter for that energy, that higher power, to, like, as an expression. And it's joyous and amazing when you do open yourself up to that. God knows, sorry to take his name in vain, but where it'll end up. But that's my take. I'd love to hear yours as well.
No, man, that's beautiful. And I got goosebumps listening to you, man. And it's because it's truth. It's these things we all inherently know thyself, and we realize that it's start to realize it's an inward journey rather than trying to get a spaceship to Mars. We're not going to find anyone up there. It's already inside. A few things. It's something I've been reading, Conversations with God, recently, and this brilliant book. One of the things in there is that we're made in God's image. Creators. We perhaps, like, quite dogmatically or quite humanly think, oh, he looks like us, does he? He has hands as well, and we look like, no. God's image. We were made as creators as well. We put divine spark in each of us. We were made as creators. And I think that's why I love the word creator, and I love this creative space, because it actually aligns us closer with our true nature, why we are here, to experience ourselves, to align with that creative channeling and put it out into the world. And that's why I love this, like, creator space, because, it's all a creator space. Everything is a creation. The second one you spoke about was faith. Having faith enables you to achieve things, to take risks. And that is what faith is. It's when you have faith, you align with the energy of abundance, because having faith enables you to take risks, because you're saying, I have faith that I'm going to take this risk and that things will work out. I know that everything has worked up until this point. Everything has worked out for me. Here I am. I have everything I need. I am abundant. Okay. So I'm going to take this risk, and I know that it will work out. And the more faith you have, the bigger the risks you take. The bigger the risks you take, the bigger the reward you get as well. And you want to talk about manifestation and all of this. Yeah, have faith. Have faith, and then you're going to jump. You're going to jump off the edge of that cliff knowing that you're going to land on a bed of feathers. And yeah, for me, it's interesting you said you read the Bible. I grew up Christian as well, and again, exactly the same as you. Don't tell me what to think. Don't tell me that there's a hell that I'm going to go to. Don't tell me that. That's fear. It's fear. You don't make me believe something out of fear. I rejected it. But it's funny revisiting the Bible, finding the deep truths in there that are pointing towards, like you said, what science is trying to explain. God will be a physicist. Yeah, man. I think we're going to have to shoot out of here. But I just wanted to say, absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on as well. Where can people find you? How can they get closer into your world? How can they connect with you? And yeah, get into your world and get into your space and start thinking like you do.
Yeah. First of all, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed this. I knew this was going to be a really, really fun conversation and we're going to go deep. But yeah, when you told me the other day that your listening is one of your objectives for this year, I think this is where it's going to really play its hand. So awesome questions and really appreciate you inviting me, to be honest. How can people find me? So I'm most active on X. However, I am on all social media platforms. You can find me on X at Dan Westworld. I have an Instagram I've just started, same handle, at Dan Westworld. LinkedIn, I'm doing a little bit of stuff on there, but really there's not much enjoyment there. But you can find me there on LinkedIn, Dan West. And the thing I'd really like to poke people towards,
please,
jump onto my email list. If you didn't hate this conversation, jump onto my email list. I send a daily email. I let you know exactly what's going on in my world and how you can get closer into it. And I'm offering all sorts of interesting opportunities and fun stuff and stuff that you can grab from me there. So if the spirit moves you, jump onto my email list and I'll be chatting with you on there.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you so much.
Nice one, bro. Thank you.
Nicely done, man.